أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. أنا محمد عز الدين. إن شاء الله حنتناول في المحاضرة دي أساسيات Object Oriented Programming using Java. Our lecture is going to be through Object Oriented Programming concepts. We are going to discuss the main and originality of the Object Oriented Programming. Object-oriented terminology. There are so many terminology related to the object-oriented we are going to cover, and we cover the 5-layer model, CRC card, and by the way, we are going to speak about the unified modeling language and the relationship in general. As you know, object-oriented programming is come after so many development in the programming language. Programming language start from the beginning by the procedure language and the structure language, and finally object-oriented programming come to solve the problems that's never solved by the previous efforts, or it may be solved, but it is not like the way we like it. So object-oriented programming come and to solve the problems that's never or may be solved, but very limitedly. With the previous efforts, object-oriented programming usually we prefer to use it to solve the very complicated problems. And in general, there are two ways to model objects. Like code and Udon methodology, the unified modeling language. Object-oriented programming mainly based on 6 characteristics. The first one is the class. We are going to speak about the class. What do you mean by the class? Message, encapsulations, inheritance, and polymorphism. These are the main areas or the main tools that's used by object-oriented programming to solve a very complicated problem. In these sections we are going to speak about the terminology. What do you mean by the class? Class is a template. It is a frame that we are going to put in it so many data and methods to deal with this data. This data is related to the problem solving, and data inside the class either to be an attributes or methods. There is a difference between objects and the class. Sometimes you hear someone speak about class and another one speak about object in the same way. Actually, no. Class is something different than object. So, what do you mean by object and what do you mean by class? Class, as I said, it is a template, or it is like a frame where we are going to put all the data which we needed in order to solve the problem. Then object, it is actually that this data is going to be implemented or related to the object. So object is an instance or occurrence of the class. So object is an instance to the class. يعني يا اخواننا في فرق ما بين الاوبجكت وما بين الكلاس. احنا لما نتكلم على الكلاس هو بيمثل لنا وعاء او اطار عام بنخوض فيه الداتا بتاعتنا. الداتا بتاعتنا إما هي تكون simple data نقول عليها attributes or methods to deal with this data, ونحن بنقول عليها methods or functions. الobject, actually object is when we define or when we need to apply these data, it is going to represent a specific object. So object, it is an instance. Object is an instance. Also, property. What do we mean by the property? Property is an attribute. An attribute, these data. Methods, the functions, as I said. Inside the class, either we are speaking about simple data, this is an attribute, or a method to deal with this data, and this is methods, or we call it behavior. Or methods, or sorry, it is a method or functions. Like for example, X, Y, it is very simple data, so these are an attributes. Then we can use another functions, we can use another methods to deal with this X and Y, either to assign values to X and Y, or to display values from X and Y, or to modify the values in X and Y. For example, the value in X times 2. These are the methods or functions we are going to use it inside. Another types of functions like the interface. You know, class actually it is designed for so many reasons. This class, it must be interfaces with our program. How we can interface? There are methods that represent the behavior of the class, that represent the behavior of the class member. We are going to speak this in later on in details. Also encapsulations. You know, very previously when we are speaking about when we are speaking about structure programming or procedure programming, there are so many drawbacks, there are so many disadvantages. Like for example, security. Code actually is not secure. We can develop a code, and after a moment, the data allocated or the data that inside the code, inside or represent our problem solving, can be lost at any time. Accordingly, the idea from the class is come. So we need to capsulate. Capsulate means what? We are going to put data and methods that deal with this data in one. We are going to deal with it as a one unit, data and a method to solve or to deal with this data together. Together we are going to put them, and this is the capsulations. And actually this is represented through class. Class, as I said, they are data, attributes, which we call it an attributes, and methods to solve with this data or to deal with this data. Together we are going to deal with them as a one unit. So this is encapsulations. We are going to, for sure, we are going to update the data inside this class without or only by changing the services that encapsulates the data, and this can be seen later on also in our problems. Inheritance. You know, developing coding, it is although it is very important, but it is very difficult and sometimes very boring when we need to solve problems, and every time we repeat things, every time I'm going to repeat such kind of codes, it's going to be it's not going to be very useful. It's not going to be very useful idea. So encapsulations come to solve the problems of the repetitions. I'm going to inherit such kind of data from the main or from the base class into another class. For example, if I have a class and there is another class, if there is a data block, or there is, by data I mean an attribute or methods that belong to the class A, the top, and this data again it is going to be repeated in another class. There is no need to repeat all these data. I'm going to inherit it from the base class. يعني يا اخواننا الوراثة هي أنا بقول إنه يعني إذا كان إحنا عندنا أكثر من كلاس، وعندي كلاس أساسي فيه معلومات وأنا عندي كلاس ثاني داير أكتبه بس في كمية من المعلومات اللي أنا عايز أكتبها للكلاس نمرة 2 هي already يعني كتبت للكلاس الأول. Then there is no need again to repeat it. I can inherit it from the top. Polymorphism. Polymorphism, it is another techniques. It is very advanced. It is outstanding ideas. Polymorphism, it is come also to solve the problems of repetitions, polymorphism, it is very unique. Object-oriented programming is come by this tool or these techniques to solve the repetitions. Sometimes there is a method I'm using in the first class. I'm going to do something very similar to these methods in the first class in another class B. Then there is no need to rewrite the method again. I'm going to use only one function that's already defined in the base class, and furtherly in the future I'm going to use it in another class to do different job, or there is little bit variations. In our course later on we are going to speak about inheritance and polymorphism in details. The most important things you have to put in mind that we cannot apply polymorphism without inheritance. If we need to see the object-oriented programming model as a model, there is a layer. What do we mean by model? First of all, model, it is just like a descriptions to solve the problem. يعني إذا أنت لقيت في زول بيتكلم يقول لك والله أنا عندي موديل لحل عملية حسابية أو رياضية، معناته هو بيتكلم على خطوات حل معينة بيحل بها. طيب تصميم الموديل ده بيحصل إنه الزول هو أثناء ما قاعد يذاكر بيحاول إنه هو يعرف خطوات الحل بطريقة معينة، ويبقى ده هو الموديل اللي بيستخدمه لحل العمليات الرياضية المشابهة. لما نمشي later on عشان يقوم يحل مسائل تانية بتشبه دي، هو بيقوم يتبع نفس الخطوات اللي اتبعها زمان. It is the same. Here we are speaking about the model that used by object-oriented programming to solve the problems or the programming problems. Here it is very essential to speak about the layers. This model, it is composed of what? What are the main layer and what these layers is developed? The first one is the class and the object. It is the main. It is the units. This is the core for the object-oriented programming. Also the structure. By the structure, how we are going to put these classes in such way. What's the layout of these structures? When we are speaking about structures, actually here we are speaking about if there is an inheritance, we are going to link two classes together. If there is such kind of polymorphism and so on. Another layer, it is the attributes layer, and these are the raw data, which is actually represent the problems, which is actually related to the problems. And also we are going to speak about the service layer, and here the service layer, it is represent the message for the communications between other classes and this class. And here finally we are speaking about the subject layer, and this is subject layer is divides the design into implementations units. Actually this is very important so as to not to look at the program as a one unit. We need to split it down into subunits. Splitting down program into subunits actually very important for renewing the programs, and we are going to see this is also later on as a main advantage of object-oriented programming. What are the criteria to determine whether a new class of object is justified? How we know that? It is very simply. نحن لو عاوزين نتكلم على انه خصائص او سمات الاوبجكت او الكلاس اللي هي يعني حققنا ديزاين اوبجكت فيري جود، يبقى انه نحن لازم ناخذ في اعتبارنا الاشياء اللي احنا قلناها. نحن عندنا مشكله عبرنا عنها بداتا، يعني هسه البني ادم اذا عايز يحل مشكله هو اكيد عنده داتا بتخص المشكله دي، وكيف هو يتعامل مع يعالج البيانات دي عشان يحل المشكله. يبقى انه نحن في الاساس اذا عايزين نتكلم على مشاكلنا البرمجيه it is very essential, it is very important to speak about the data. يعني this data, it is there. We are actually collect and gather the data which is related to our problems clearly. It is justified, these data. It is enough. The methods there, are they enough? Are they working well? The design of these methods. And also the behavior of these objects, the behavior of the object inside the class, these data, how the object, how it is the behavior of it. Also, we are speaking about more than one object instantiations. This is very important. Actually, the concept, it's going to be very clear when we are speaking about the solutions, or when we see the program in our examples later on. Attributes have a meaningful values, as I said. The attributes, for example, x, it is an attribute. X equal 5, 5 it is a value for x. Then we are going to see, is it perfect? These values, is it right or not? Service, actually, they are behaving the same way for every object in a class. That's sure. We are using the services to represent all the object inside the class. Object implementation requirements that are derived from the problem setting. If we have a problems and we design our solutions very clearly, then it is going to be, or the requirement for solving the problems become the requirement in our program. So we are going to satisfy these requirements. So it is very important not to duplicate attributes. Not to duplicate attributes. Duplications of attributes, it is very dangerous. Sometimes we are confusing about it. Sometimes it is affecting the codes by so many ways. Services that could be derived from other objects in the system, this is like inheritance. We are going to make sure that we are applying the inheritance techniques in very well, so as or to connect these classes together. In general, we can say these criteria, it is very important we have to put in mind the layer of the model. When we are speaking about the criteria, the data is important. Then we are actually speaking about how the design, the layout, about this structure, about these objects, to speak about inheritance. There is no need to make repetitions. This is polymorphism. Same, this is inheritance, and also it is polymorphism. The idea, it is clear. That means using the techniques provided by the object-oriented programming, it is give a clear way to solve the problem by avoiding repetitions, by avoiding very complicated solutions which is defined by the previous solution. Instance connections, as I said, an instance, it is the representative of the class. For example, if we define a class, we called it class test. Then we come down and we said test T. T is an instance of the class test. Actually, instance must be connected together. Very important. Connecting together, why? Because both of them are representing the same object. Methods. As I said, the methods are the solutions or the descriptions how to deal with data. These are the functions which is defined inside the class. يعني احنا لما نتكلم عن الميثود يا اخواننا احنا بنتكلم على الفانكشنز، الدوال اللي احنا اصلا عرفناها عشان نتعامل مع البيانات بتاعتنا. These methods actually it is used to there are so many reasons to define methods. Also we are going to speak about them. This is just like introductory about what we are going to speak about. So actually these methods, it is used to either treat or treat the attributes, where actually these methods we are using for modifications or to modify these data. There are so many reasons to use methods. Why? Because actually these data, it's going to be changed while the programming is running on. This change is going to take place through methods. Service specification, actually, like creating, storing, retrieving, connecting, these are the services which we can use it. Message specification consists of the control and data flow. And this is just like making a message, for example, display or input or another thing. Actually, if we are speaking about the problem domain component, consists of what? Consists of the reuse design. As I said, there is a possibility to reuse the code or the some part of code, either as a whole or sub from the or partially. يعني احنا يا اخواننا reused هي حاجة مهمة جدا. إذا أنا في يوم من الأيام طورت برنامج، ممكن أنا أستخدم جزء منه عشان أطور برنامج تاني، يعني اللي بيعمل كلاس عشان يساهم في حل مشكلة معينة، ممكن نستخدم نفس الكلاس عشان نحل به مشكلة في مشابهة أو فيها وجه الشبه. يعني مثلا إذا أنا في يوم من الأيام عملت لي برنامج مثلا يحسب أجور عاملين، وأنا استعملت كلاس يعني يمثل لي أجور العاملين بالداتا بتاعته، وفي يوم من الأيام وكان استخدام الكلاس ده هو جزء من برنامج كبير جدا جدا، وأنا استخدمته في يوم، وأنا محتاج في يوم من الأيام تاني إنه أنا أعمل برنامج عشان يقوم يحسب لي أنا أجر مقطوع لعاملين أو يعني أجر مؤقت أو ساعات إضافية أو أوفر تايم، يبقى ما في داعي أنا أكتب البرنامج من البداية. already أنا I have program very clearly designed. We are using class that do a solutions in such way. Then I'm going to reuse that class here again with a little bit modifications. Implementation structures. The implementation structure, actually this is very important because we said the program, it is composed from so many units and we need to connect these units together. So the implementation, the control, it is transferred from one unit to another unit. In which way? How we can do that? And actually also we are speaking about language accommodations, because you know, the language itself, it gives such way of it makes such it makes sense sometimes. For example, using object-oriented programming with C++, the concepts are the same, but there are such kind of utilities, such kind of advantage provided by the C++. When we are speaking about object-oriented programming with Java, actually it is the same. There are so many things provided by Java which is not provided by the C++. These things, it's going to facilitate developing code. This is very important. Also with C# and so on. Accordingly, we can study object-oriented programming with different language. Some people study object-oriented programming by the C++, and some people studying object-oriented programming with Java, and another people studying object-oriented programming with C#. CRC card. What is the CRC? It is the class responsibility and collaborators. CRC. Responsibilities and collaborators. And actually here we use it to represent responsibilities of the class and the interactions between classes, because using or developing big code or big program, there are so many classes. These classes, they must be communicated together. How they are communicate, this is an issue. This is an issue. We like very much collaborations. Once we think about CRC, we are speaking the communications between classes and the responsibilities of the classes. This class is responsible to do what? Responsibility means doing well, doing work very effectively, very efficiently. We can use this class to solve this part of code very perfectly. If we can apply inheritance with another class, it will be very good. How these classes or these two classes are communicated together. How the utilities provided by the first class is going to assign benefits to the another class, and so on. If we are applying polymorphism, we are speaking about the same things. We are increasing a collaborations between these two classes. So these techniques, it's come, if we are speaking about inheritance or polymorphism, actually we are speaking about increasing the collaborations between the classes, increasing the responsibilities of classes. Package. Package means group of things. Package, group of things. If we are speaking about package, we are speaking about subsystems. It is a start from the structured programming when they are speaking about functions. Function, it is a package. It is a sub-program. Function itself, function, actually function, it is a program. لكن we are using these functions in a big program or the main program so as to solve our problem. Then we are speaking about package. This packaging with so many advantages. Packaging make code easy. Packaging make reuse very easy. Package help to specify bugs, errors while we are executing our program. You know, if someone write a program, there will be such kind of bugs. These bugs, it represent an error. So the program is not going to solve the problem. It's not going to work as you want. Accordingly, we have to correct these mistakes. These mistakes may be syntax, maybe runtime errors, maybe it is the program doing something else than which we wanted, which we call it symmetric error. Symmetric error. Symmetric errors means the program's behave or its behavior it is different than which we wanted. يعني الإيرورز إما إنها هي تكون syntax error يعني أخطاء إملائية spelling and so on. Something not it is not good, or runtime error, it is logical error. For example, you need to add characters to the integer, this is logical. Or symmetrics error. With symmetrics errors, actually here we are speaking about the programs run and give a result, give an answer to the problem, but it is not that one which we are expected from the beginning. Accordingly, package or this and this block of data, it is very easy to solve problems. It is it helps us to specify the area which we are expecting error, So if we need to speak about object-oriented programming, actually we are speaking about, because object-oriented programming, it is using all the previous things which is defined by the structure and procedures programming, and they are adding more. What's the things which is added by the object-oriented programming? احنا اتكلمنا عنها قبالك اللي هي encapsulations, inheritance, polymorphisms and others. The object-oriented programming, it is help to divide the problems into small units, and this is a big issue. You know, if we are looking to solve the problem, sometimes it will be very critical to solve problem as a whole. If we're dividing the problems into small units, there is a great chance to solve the problem. Yes, نحن لو عندنا مشكلة كبيرة وحاولنا نحلها كلها مع بعض أو نحل المشكلة كلها ككل، أكيد حنواجه مشاكل كثيرة. عليه تجزئة المشكلة إلى أجزاء صغيرة بيساعد وبيسهم في حلها بسرعة وبكفاءة عالية. Object-oriented programming actually provides such kind of solution. يعني you are going to divide the problems into small units, into subunits, and each unit is going to be implemented or designed or coded separately. And we are going to make such kind of communications between these units, and finally we are expecting the results or to solve the problems very efficient or in an accurate manner. Then here we need to speak about example of object-oriented programming. As I said, a simple queue can be represented by an object. A simple queue is an object. A queue will have a characteristics and behavior. Queue like what? Is the queue is empty? Is this queue is empty? الصف ده ما فيه زول. This is a characteristics. صفة. الصف فاضي. صفة تصف الصف إنه فاضي. الصف فيه شخصين. صفة. طيب push an item onto the queue. إحنا عندنا 3 دايرين نخط لهم واحد. Then this is the behavior. This is the behavior. So this is the way which we are speaking about. When we speak about behavior, actually we are speaking about activities. And when we are speaking about characteristics, actually we are speaking about things that represent the object. Q, it's an object. Car, it's an object. The man, human being, it's an object. For example, the man, is it okay, perfect, it's healthy? We are speaking about characteristics. This man eat. We are speaking about such kind of behavior. We are going to stop here. Thank you very much.